Hey y'all, so the Zoom that you're about to watch is the Zoom that I made for our team, our group. And basically what I did is I just copied all of my finance templates and I shared it with them so that they can use it for their review. So I'm going to go ahead and let y'all watch this video that I shared with them. And if you want these templates as well, reach out and I'll get them over to you. Hey y'all, Happy New Year. Yesterday I had my annual end of year expense and profit review. And in that, I realized that I had a lot of really useful tools that I've used along my financial journey that I actually went ahead and shared with y'all. So I'm going to show y'all where you can find these, what they are, and a little bit on how to use them. And if you have any other questions, reach out. You can go ahead and share my screen. Okay, so in your DTA folder, you'll notice that I added a new tab here. It's called Finances. Go into Finances. And this is just a reminder for all of these documents, please make your own copy so that way you're not sharing your financials with everybody else here, right? So make your own copy. So when you first come in, you're going to see this folder right here. It's going to say do this first before you even jump into using the spreadsheets. Do this first. And this is really just like brain work, mind exercises to get you thinking about your long-term plan, just some self-awareness journal prompts. So you can dive deeper into what really motivates you to be doing this, like what do you really want out of life and how can we reverse engineer that backwards to make sure that your daily KPIs of submitting offers are actually meeting up with your long-term goals. Right. So there's some just journal prompts in here. Like I said, just make a copy of all these documents, go to file, make copy, and then move it to wherever you need to in your computer. All right. So after you do these journal prompts right here, and then we're going to talk about the A3 wealth plan. And I forget who actually wrote the book, but he was the CFO of Rich Dad Poor Dad's company. So these were my notes from the book and some of the questions that he was asking just to get your brain thinking. So it'll teach you about assets, an example of the wealth plan. So you want like 10% in cash and currencies, 10% in gold or precious metals, like 40% of your investments in real estate, and then another 40% in stocks and paper assets. And it actually goes down through and shows you the benefits of all these and just a little bit about them. And then it asks you some bigger picture questions, again, leading you just to do some more self-reflection to figure out like, okay, like what does wealth mean to you and some of your long-term goals. Some of these questions are duplicated from the other, but at your own discretion, go through them. All right. And then after you have just kind of done some self-reflection, reviewed your goals and your wealth plan, then you can come in here and again make copies of all these documents. And there's a couple things here that I'm going to show y'all through, but I'm going to go over them real quick. So this is for your personal expenses. This is for your business expenses. This right here, this money workbook, it has debt trackers. It has a couple other goodies I'm going to walk you through. And then when we were going through and self-reflecting about all of our goals, we're going to reverse engineer those goals into daily, weekly, monthly KPIs, quarterly KPIs to like really check and make sure that we're checking in with our goals and actually have data matrix to measure how we are with our goal, And then from there, we can go down here and we can look at our leads data and just basically see like, okay, we're wholesaling, we're doing all this, like what's my ROI on my investment? What's my ROI on my time? So without further ado, let's jump into this personal expense one right here. At the very beginning, at the front, it'll show you like how to use and then how to use it ongoing. And at the bottom of the screen, it'll come up for me. When I first started using this, I found it a little bit easier to go through and track my expenses monthly, like my rent, utilities, phone, groceries, all of these things. Like what are my savings? What are my investments? Like what's my like savings rate? All of that jazz. I found it easier to use this spreadsheet, but however, me moving forward into 2023, I'm no longer going to use the monthly. I'm just going to plug in everything to the annual. That way I don't have to duplicate everything twice, you know? Um, so yeah, you can just go through here, start with January, February, March, go through the months, and then you can say like, okay, like in January I invested, and you can change all of these things. Like this is totally customizable for you. So if you're not invested in Vanguard, then you can change that to whatever you want, and then say like, okay, this is how much I put here. But investments and savings, and then all of your expenses are here in the whites. If you have a mortgage, you can change that to mortgage instead of rent. And then all of these fields are customizable to you. And at the very end, it'll tell you your total expenses for the month and for the year. How much do you totally invested, saved? What's your investment rate again? And then your income as well. Right. So if your business pays you, here you would put the income that you made from your business, not how much your business made. So then let's go ahead and jump into the business expenses. Pretty much the same thing here. If you have multiple sources of income, the green is your income. Like for me, I'm a realtor, I wholesale, I do consulting, I'm in real estate investments, right? So you can plug in what your total income here was throughout the months. And then like, okay, what were your expenses for each one of these categories? Well, I broke down what my expenses were for each one of those categories, right? And again, you can change all of these fields. And at the end, it adds it up by month and by annual. And then if you pay if you follow the profit first model, here you can plug in like how much you paid yourself, how much you set aside for taxes, how much you set aside for business profit, and then clearly the total, like the OPEX would be how much you set aside, and then you can compare it to what your total expenses were. And then here's your balance sheet. Sometimes you have a rollover from the year before. What was your income, total expenses, expected taxes? Here I have 30%. And then you can compare that to how much you actually set aside for taxes. And you can just kind of get a gauge of when you do your tax returns, like, okay, was I on point? But yeah, also this is broken down into a monthly version as well. If you want to change this, definitely can. I find it easier to go through and say like, okay, what was my money in name? How much was it? What was my money out? Like I spent it on car. How much was it out? Right. So you can break that down if you want it in a monthly format instead of the annual. All right. So we just went over personal and business. So let's dive into the money workbook. Yeah, Ocean guides me up, I swear. Okay. So here at the bottom, you will see two different net worth trackers. Um, it both have your assets, your liabilities, your savings, investments, your retirements, all that jazz. The difference with this one is it also shows like your passive income. And yeah, that's the only difference. Is the Rich Dad Poor Dad, it shows your passive income. So whichever net worth tracker you like the best, you can use. If you have any debt, student loans, mortgage, car loans, anything like that, you can go ahead and plug in all that here, describe it, and just kind of finish filling all of this. And what I like to do is I like to take this if I have debt and I would plug it into an online calculator. It's called undebtit.com. So you can go through Undebit and you can plug in all those numbers and it'll tell you like what's your estimated payoff date. And if you follow like the snowball method or the avalanche method, like when you would pay all of your debt off. So if you do have debt, that's an awesome tool for you. Here is just bank account notes. I have multiple different bank accounts. It just keeps me organized, have different buckets so that not all my money is in one pool. If you have different bank accounts, this is just help you keep organized. Different investments and credit card accounts. Right. Y'all didn't need that. Cool. And then if you were to ever move banks because you're like, oh wow, I noticed that like I need to follow more of a profit first system and you want to move to like Marcus or Relife Financial or something like that. Here's just a checklist of things that you would need when moving banks. And then at the very end is once you get an idea of like how much you've been spending month over month for the past 3 months, and you decide whether you can make a change from that data. And even if you don't want to make a change necessarily right then, you can go back in here and say like, okay, what's my dream budget? Like how much money would I love to be allocating towards all these different things to find out how much you need to make in a year, right? And then from there, once we find out like, okay, like how much do we need to make in a year, here, then we can go to our leads data and we can start tracking like, okay, this is how many offers I sent. This is how many properties that I got under contract. Here's my ROI. Here's where I've been allocating my money. It all feeds in together. Like all these little things feed into like, okay, what's my big picture? What's my vision? And what do I need to do on a daily basis, right? So when you start tracking your KPIs within RaySimpli and you're noticing that you're submitting X amount of offers and you're getting X amount of properties under contract and you're closing X amount for X amount of dollars, you can plug in all this data and be like, dang, like, okay, this is what I need to realistically do to hit my goals. Because if you take the drama out of it, y'all just got to do it. And some of us need this a little bit more than others. So here you go. Like for example, like if you spent $500 on MLS data to do direct to agent, right? Well, what's your ROI if you made $20,000 from it? 4,000% ROI. Where else are you making that kind of money? Cost per deal, cost per lead, not offer per deal. You can track all this data so that way you know what realistically you need to do on a day-to-day level to get you to where you want to go. So that is pretty much it, y'all. If you have any questions about this, you know how to contact me. But definitely come in here, check out this finances data, and I hope that y'all have a blessed year. And let's make this money.